Hey guys, Wefes here and welcome back to Wefes First Impressions for part 2 of Knights of the Frozen Throne. And without further ado, let's just move on to the card, shall we? Because we don't want to see Wefes talking. And why am I still talking, guys? Why? Alright, so first we have Abomination Archer. It's a 7 mana 6/7 hunter card, epic. Death Rattle, summon a random friendly beast that died this game. So it's kind of useful alongside those custom beasts that you make with your the Deathstalker Rexar. Otherwise, it's also useful when you summon things like a Sanada Jaime, if you summon your Huffer, or your even Misha would be good. Like sometimes even Leokk is good. It really depends on what you want to do. N'Zoth is really good here, especially if it dies and it summons a Leokk and suddenly the whole board is buffed. Or even if you play Call of the Wild and you play this card, it's also really good. So the beast synergy is there, and I think it's actually a pretty good card, considering that epics usually suck, right? The only problem is that the stat line is kind of considering that it's a 7-drop. But we have seen bad 7-drops. This is actually one of the better ones so far. Like if you play, what's it called? If you play Forbidden Shaping, for example, and you get a 7-drop like this, you're actually pretty happy, especially in Arena, right? When you inevitably draft the beasts, and if it dies, it just summons a random beast that you play. So it's pretty good, I guess. 7 out of 10. Next, we have Animated Berserker. It's a 1 mana 1/3 warrior card. After you play a minion, deal 1 damage to it. So this is basically trying to say that, hey, if you are a warrior and you want to play your enraged minions, this is the guy for you. Play your Worgen, play your 2/6 taunt, I forgot the name, and yeah, all of those enrage mechanics are really useful. It can also be used to like activate your passives like Armor Smith. Like if you have like double Armor Smith and you play Animated Berserker, it's really good. So, and one of the best things about this is that you can actually play this in turn 1, right? Because if you there are other 1-drops that cannot be played on turn 1, but this is one of those that is like 1/3 is a really good stat line, and then when you place other minions that synergize with this, it's pretty good. However, you do not draft this in Arena ever because you might not be able to get as much Enrage synergy as you really want. I mean, sure, sometimes you still draft Enrage, but it's just not as consistent. So 6 out of 10 for this one. Next, we have Bear Shark. It's a 3 mana 4/3 hunter card. Cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers, and this is such a good card, right? A lot of people think Fairy Dragon, and sometimes when a Fairy Dragon is not dealt with early, it's kind of a little annoying, especially if a Fairy Dragon is hiding behind a taunt or something like that. Same thing goes for Bear Shark, except that it has 3 health, so it's even harder to kill. Plus, it can be combined with other beasts using the custom beasts. And even more beast synergy will include using your Houndmaster to give this immune plus taunt, or even Crackling Razormaw to give it other stuff like extra attack and everything. Because normally, if you have something like this, you cannot buff it with your spells, right? You cannot like Blessing of Kings it, you cannot do all those things. But Houndmaster can do it. Crackling Razormaw can do it. So basically, this Bear Shark cannot be targeted, but you can target them. That makes it really powerful, and it's definitely a good card against things like Rogue or even Mage, where they try to fireball your thing, but they can't because they can't. So I think this is actually a really good card, and it's actually could be more than 7 out of 10. We'll see. Next, we have Bolvar Fireblood. It's a 5 mana 1/7 Paladin Legendary. It's not really 1/7. It has Divine Shield. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, including himself by the way, gain +2 attack. So technically it's 3/7 if you remove the Divine Shield, right? So basically this card, along with all of the other cards that I'll be talking later on for Paladins, is actually the return of Divine Shield Paladins, and I'm really happy because Divine Shield is a mechanic that should be explored a little more. It gives you so much value in the arena alone, especially when you have minion to minion trading instead of just relying on spells and board clears. So if like we return to a meta where we have minion to minion trading, Divine Shields are just giving you so much value, right? So over Fireblood, I think it works, especially if you have a Divine Shield Paladin deck ready to go. It works well with Blood Knight, so basically if you have all your Divine Shields on your friendly minions and then you suddenly play a Blood Knight takes all the Divine Shields and gain all the stats he needs. Bolvar gets stats as well because their friendly minions lose Divine Shield, so both cards buff each other, and it's insane. I think that's really insane. So be sure to keep a lookout for the card Steward of Darkshire because she is going to come back into the meta, and I rate this card 7 out of 10. Next, we have Bone Mare. It's a 7 mana 5/5 neutral card. Battlecry, give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. So basically, you're taunting something and giving it Blessing of Kings. This is a great card. It's a 7 mana total of 9 stats plus taunt. This is insane. I don't know why this is a common card, but this is just insane. And a lot of people are speculating that this is actually a card that only the Lich King can use. I'm not really sure. It was in the set, so probably not. It's probably something that people can use, but this is really good. If you have Ultra Sword and Bone Mare, it's gonna be a nightmare, right? It's just insane. It's just too good. 9 out of 10. Next, we have Bring It On. It's a 2 mana warrior epic card. Gain 10 armor, reduce the cost of your minions in your opponent's hand by 2. So this is basically like a Millhouse Mana Storm, but it's for minions. I think in the last ditch effort for me, for warriors to try and stay alive, this is an okay card, but do not play it in constructed. This is an arena only card. If you play it in constructed, you're just gonna die. You're just gonna die. 2 out of 10. Next, we have Cold Wraith. It's a 3 mana 3/4, so it's a decent spider tank, but its battle cry is if an enemy is frozen, draw a card. So maybe you want to use a Frost Collar with some spell and then use this card to draw a card. I don't think mages need as much card draw as they really say they need, because you have things that generate cards all the time for mages already. You have Cabalist's Tome, you have Arcane Intellect, you have your Babbling Book, you have your Arcanologist, you have so many card draw. Mages don't really need as much card draw anymore. So I'm just giving it a 6 out of 10. The stat line is fine, and well, if you want to play something like a different kind of freeze mage, possibly, but I think mages are in a good place right now, and these new cards doesn't seem to be changing her meta as much, but we'll see. Next, we have Corpse Taker. It's a 4 mana 3/3 epic card that in my opinion should be a legendary card, because Battlecry, gain taunt if your deck has taunt, gain Divine Shield if your deck has Divine Shield, gain Lifesteal if your deck has Lifesteal, and gain Wind Fury if you have Wind Fury. It's definitely a very good card if you're playing Arena, and it's even better if you have a deck that has all of these keywords in place, right? You can play a Grimy Goons deck, for example, and buff this up to be, say, like a 6/6, for example. It gives you excellent value because it's Taunt, Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury. If you manage to get all of those things, it's really good, and potentially even better than Tyrian Fort Ring, right? Minus the Death Rattle, get an Ashbringer. Everything else is just so good. Important thing to take note is that there is no charge and no Death Rattle and no poisonous, so you don't really need to include those keywords into your deck. But with 4 keywords into your deck, you probably already have a deck that's kind of like weird and stuff like that. But I think it's worth it if you have Corpse Taker. Play 2 of these cards in your deck if you're gonna play like that. It's really good. Next, we have Fate Spinner. It's one of the most excellent card designs I've seen so far. It's a 5 mana 5/3 Druid card. It's an epic. So choose a Death Rattle. Of course, you have to choose it secretly. So it's either deal 3 damage to all minions, or give all minions +2/+2. This is very important, right? A lot of people think that, oh, you give just your own minions +2/+2. No, you give all minions +2/+2. So you might potentially be giving your opponents more damage to kill your face. Right? So most of the time you kind of want to choose free damage to all minions, especially if your opponent has more minions than you. But if you have more minions than them, you probably choose that you give all minions +2/+2, because you'll probably be able to trade off anyway. But that means that the choice of your Death Rattle is kind of like a little bit weird, because like it's more obvious than you would think, right? Sometimes it kind of feels like, maybe this person chose this Death Rattle, not this one. But because of how this card works, it becomes really obvious. Like, Fate Spinner, like, oh, I play Fate Spinner, I have less minions than you, which one did I choose? It's kind of obvious. So I give this card a 7 out of 10 for the card design. I wish that we get more of this kind of cards, but we give it a little bit more flexibility, because right now it's really clear cut and obvious, and like, why would you want to play this card if it's so obvious, right? So we'll see. Next, we have Hadronox. It's a 6 mana, no, it's not 6 mana, it's a 9 mana 3/7 legendary druid. Druid legendary. And Death Rattle summon your taunt minions that died this game. So basically, it's a wall that requires time to build, right? So why would you want to do that? If you want to taunt immediately. And a 3/7 for a 9 mana stat line is just so weak. You want this Hadronox guy to die quickly, and he doesn't die quickly because he has 7 health. so he kind of needs to get hit multiple times before he dies, which is not really that good either. So I do not recommend playing Hadronox because like there are so many other cards that are 9 mana that are better than Hadronox right now. Sure, you might have played tons of taunts early on in the game, but because this is not an insta taunt, it's not good enough, right? So 6 out of 10. Next, we have Light Sorrow. It's a 4 mana 1/4 paladin weapon. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, gain +1 attack. So another Bolvar synergy there. Like I talked about earlier, Divine Shield paladins are going to be a thing. It's potentially really, really good. And even if you want to just break even in terms of mana costs, all you need to do is proc 1 Divine Shield. That's all. And you get a 2/4, which is practically a Light's Justice, except you need to hit 4 times instead of being able to hit only 2. Alright, if you want to argue that you have to hit 4 times, then maybe you want to proc it twice and then it breaks even, but I feel like this is a really, really, really good card. But you need to have lots of healing for your paladin, otherwise you might die, right? Because you'll be hitting a lot of stuff. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Bring some healing. Next, we have Sanguine Reveler. It's a 1 mana 1/1 Warlock card. Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion and gain +2/+2. So basically it's a zoo card. You can't play it on turn 1 because it's like, what are you doing playing a 1 mana 1/1, right? Unless you have a coin, then sure, you play a minion first and then you sacrifice it. What 1 mana minion can you sacrifice? It's probably only Runic Egg. Nothing else is worth sacrificing, and yeah. Basically this is an egg activator. So you have Runic Egg and Devilsaur eggs for you to activate. That's all it does. It's a 6 out of 10. Next, we have Syndragosa. It's an 8 mana 8/8. It's a mage legendary. Battlecry, summon 2/0/1 frozen champions. And it's very important that you note that these frozen champions are 0/1, meaning your frozen champions cannot attack, and you probably have to use your own hero power to activate this frozen champion. Most of the time, your opponents are not so stupid to try and hit it for you, unless they are just too desperate and they need to use AoEs to board clear the board. Otherwise, your frozen champions will just be there, and you probably just be summoning in 8/8 for nothing. And that's probably not that good. Even then, right, for your frozen champion will summon a random it doesn't summon, it adds a random legendary minion to your hand, meaning you still have to play the legendary minion afterwards, which will cost you mana, and you know, who knows, you might even get things like Lorewalker Cho, Prince Kalasev. I mean, if you get a Shifter Xeris, it's still pretty good, but I'm not too sold about this card. Sure, getting more cards is always a good thing, especially in Arena, but for Constructed, maybe you don't want to play Syndragosa because she's kind of like just a little bit too inconsistent. But I'll still give it an 8 out of 10. No pun intended. Anyway, we have our not really final card, but Voodoo Hexer. It's a 5 mana 2/7 Shaman card with Taunt. Freeze any character damaged by this minion. So this is another freeze card that I was talking about earlier in the previous episode. More freeze cards for Shamans will make the Icebreaker a little bit better to use. And this is actually our first ever Taunt plus freeze card, meaning like you're actually the first card that forces people to try and hit you, but then when they hit you, they get frozen and stuff like that. So I think this is actually pretty good. The only problem I have with this card is that when your opponents hit you and the minions, or opponent minions survive, they probably only have like 1 or 2 HP left, and using an Icebreaker to deal with that is like kind of like, you might as well have used like some Stormforged Axe and do the same thing. So maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Unless there are a lot of big minions that has a lot of HP that hits Voodoo Hexer, I don't see this actually working that well. But for Voodoo Hexer alone, I think this is still a very, very good card. 7 health is a lot, and it forces at least more than 1 minion to trade with it, and I think that's really, really good. Next, we have Howling Commander. This is our final card, and it's one of the best cards I've seen so far. It's a 3 mana 2/2 Paladin card. Battlecry, draw a Divine Shield minion from your deck. So when I looked at the Hearthstone existing cards, and I looked at Divine Shield for Paladins alone, you only have Tyrian Fordring, you have Wicked Flame Burn Bristle, and the currently newly released Bolvar Fireblood. All of these are legendary cards for your Paladins. So if you only play these three Divine Shields in your deck, you play Howling Commander, you can pull them out, and voila, you have your legendary card ready to go. Sure, you might not have enough mana to play Tyrian Fordring the next turn, or you might not have enough mana to play Bolvar next turn, but it's still there. It's still tutoring cards, and tutoring cards are really, really useful. The other tutoring card that comes to mind is Arcanologist, and a lot of people played it simply because you can draw your secrets first, so you don't draw it in the next turn or the turn after that, right? So these cards are really, really powerful and are rated 8 out of 10, potentially 9 out of 10. So you have Stonehill Defender that gives you Tyrians and Sunkeeper Tareems, and then now you have Howling Commander that draws your own Tyrians and Wicker Flame Burn Bristles, and I think that's amazing. This is a very, very good card, 8 out of 10. So that's pretty much it for today's episode of Hearthstone First Impressions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any disagreements or you have any thoughts, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about my review. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.